And salutations, I'm Gil.
And I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper.
Well, summer is upon us again, and the heat of summer can sometimes be overwhelming to people. Heat kills a number of people, injures a number of people every year. So today I want to talk about heat stress and how to prevent it. This is an area where I've got quite a bit of experience based on my profession. I have dealt with numerous cases of heat stress. I know the factors that cause it, and I've been very successful in helping to prevent it. So I'm going to share some of that information with you today, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on some of the causes, and like I said, and how we can protect ourselves and protect our family and our loved ones. Sometimes it's unavoidable that we have to work in hot environments. Sometimes we have to be outside. Sometimes we have to be doing physical labor. So it's good to understand what heat stress is, the different ways to identify heat stress, and like I said, what we can do to prevent it. When the human body is unable to maintain a normal temperature, heat-related illness can occur and may result in death. So this video, we're going to be talking about measures that you can take to prevent heat stress illness. So like I said, heat stress strikes every year. It's especially tragic when our children succumb to heat stress. I've been involved in a number of cases where children have passed away due to heat stress. And I'd really like to help give you the tools to avoid that with your friends and your families. So I ask that you click like on this video and that you subscribe so that we can get a wide dissemination on this video. And also, please share this with your friends, with your family, so that they can have this information as well to help protect themselves. And let's see if we can get this information spread widely, and maybe we can reduce those cases of heat stress and heat illness. So before we get into discussing the actual factors, I do want to point out, especially for you guys, heat stress prevention is not a macho thing. It's not about toughness, that if you're just tough enough, you can work through it. It doesn't work that way. So I have talked to many guys over the years that felt they could just man through it. Doesn't work that way. The body's a machine, and when the machine starts breaking down, it's going to break down. So we're going to hopefully give you the tools to prevent that. So there's a number of factors that increase risk. So we talk at Strategic Prepper a lot about understanding risk and doing risk assessments. So with heat stress, there are things that will increase our risk. And I want to go over, I've got a list of these items here. One, obviously, is high temperature, high humidity. And just a note on the humidity, having worked a number of years in the high desert in California, I can tell you the lack of humidity can sometimes be deceiving. You don't see yourself sweating because that moisture is evaporating as soon as it goes on the skin. So don't be deceived by low humidity. Heat stress is still an issue in low humidity environments. The problem with the higher humidity is it makes it harder for the skin, for the sweat on the skin to evaporate. When there's more moisture in the air, it's going to take up less moisture off your body. It's that evaporation of the sweat off the skin that takes that heat away from the body. So high humidity does make it harder for the body to give off the heats. Direct sun exposure, when you're not in the shade, that direct radiation from the sun will increase your risk of heat stress. Some indoor exposures, if you're in around ovens or furnaces or high heat equipment, just because you're indoors does not mean you're safe. Limited air movement, having no breeze. So it's that air movement that allows that heat to be taken from the body and moved away from the body. Now, just a side note, that works when the overall temperature is below 98.6. So that air movement on the other way isn't going to be pulling the heat off the body. So air movement by itself, it depends on the actual temperature of the air. So no air movement is going to be a problem, But just increasing the air, if it's 115 degrees outside, yes, I've been in those temperatures. If it's 115 degrees outside, just moving air isn't gonna help to reduce the chance of heat stress. So the temperature of the air is important. All right, low fluid consumption. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail later on. Physical exertion, wearing heavy clothes, heavy equipment. Let's say you're doing work that requires certain types of clothing. You're running a chainsaw, so you've got your protective equipment on. And that's going to increase your chance of heat stress. Poor physical condition, poor health conditions. Some medications, like blood pressure pills, antihistamines, drinking energy drinks. Now, I got to tell you, having dealt with dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of cases over my decades of work, I can tell you that the vast majority of cases I've dealt with fall into one of these categories. Either the person was taking certain medications, or the person was taking energy drinks or was drinking a lot of caffeine drinks. Caffeine or energy, Red Bull, Monster, things like that. And it depends on the years. 1 year, I'll have more cases on the medication. Another year, I'll have more cases on the energy drink. The thing is with the energy drink, that's just easily preventable. Just don't do it. And obviously, that's particularly your young guys. So if I get called to a case to respond to an employee who's down with heat stress, and it's a younger person, as I start to talk to the person, I'm pretty sure that they have been drinking energy drinks, and I often found that they've had several that morning. So these two cases within the workplaces that I have worked have been by and far the two largest contributors of the heat illness. Not to say these others aren't relevant. The others are very, very relevant. But these are the two factors that, for me, I watch out first. And that is the medications that people may be taking. And the other is, this is so big, I can't overemphasize this. The energy drinks, the caffeine drinks. During the summer, stay away from those. Please, please stay away from those. All right, a few others. Pregnancy, lack of exposure to recent hot working conditions. You have a visiting family member coming down. I'm in Louisiana. They're coming down maybe from the north and to visit. Why you'd come to Louisiana during the summer, I don't know. It's really hot. If they're not used to the climate, that could lead to a heat stress incident wherein you may be used to your climate and you think it's not really a big deal. Understand that people coming from outside the climate, either someplace with lower heat or lower humidity, it takes the body a while, a week or more, to adjust. If they've had a previous heat-related illness, that means they're more susceptible to future heat-related illness. And people who are older is the last on my list. People 65 and up have a greater risk of heat-related illness. All right, so with that being said, we spent quite a bit of time uncovering those different factors. That doesn't mean that everyone is immune. I have seen people in every age group succumb to heat illness. I have seen several people pass away. Unfortunately, some of them are children. We have to watch the children. They just don't know what they don't know about the risk of a heat illness. We're going to talk about prevention measures at the end here. Very important, particularly with the children, to watch them and to help them regulate their protective measures. So, 4 types of health problems caused by hot environments. We're going to talk about heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat cramps, and heat rash. So, heat stroke is easily the most serious event. This is a medical emergency. If you believe that this person is showing signs of a heat stroke, you call 911. This is a life and death situation. Even if they're awake and they say, I don't need anybody, you call 911. This is like, you treat it like a regular stroke. You call, you get help. Now, when the ambulance gets there, I'm pretty sure they can deny medical treatment, but you call 911. Here's the thing. And I want to share this with everybody listening. This is so important. Okay? So important. When a person is suffering dehydration, and all you guys on the medical field, all you gals in the medical field, leave comments, confirm, expand on it. You're going to know more on this. I know from the workplace environment. I deal with occupational health and safety, so I know it from that side. But some people can have a deeper knowledge. But I guarantee when you're suffering from dehydration, a lack of water, the heat stress, the mind loses its ability to make sound decisions, make proper decisions. You lose some of that cognitive ability. So a person who is saying, no, I'm okay, I don't need help, may not be in their right mind. Okay? That's for any of these. So it's so important for any sign of heat stress, regardless of which one you think it is, that we look out for each other. I'll tell you what, over the years, and like I said, I've been doing this for decades. Over the years, other than proper hydration and proper breaks, the number one tool that I have seen for preventing heat illness is people looking out for each other. Somebody else saying to somebody, you know what, you might need to take a break. You know what, let's go find some shade. You know, you seem to be suffering some signs of heat stress. Somebody else understanding the signs and intervening, because the person's ability to make sound judgments might be compromised. So keep that in mind when you're talking with people. Very, very important. All right. So like I said, heat stroke is a medical emergency. So what basically happens with heat stroke is, the body has a normal mechanism for regulating body temperature. Okay. The body sweats, the sweat evaporates. It's taking that heat from the body, and that helps to regulate the body temperature. In a heat stroke situation, that mechanism has failed. It's failed. So some of the symptoms, person could be confused, loss of consciousness, seizures, very high body temperatures, hot, dry skin. They could have profuse sweating, but if the sweating has stopped, you've gone into a very critical stage. The sweating is the mechanism for cooling the body. If that's shut down, you have a short time to act. Okay. So, if a person is showing these signs, like I said, it's life-threatening. Call 911, get medical help. Or if you're in a different country, I know some of you guys and gals that are subscribers are not in the U.S. It might be 119. I'm not sure. I am curious. So if you're outside the U.S., if you could, just to educate me, leave a note in the comments as to what your country uses for emergency notification for calling emergency. I think in Japan it's 119. But anyway, call that emergency number, get medical help. Make sure that someone stays with the person until help arrives. Move this person to a cool shaded area and remove that outer clothing. Okay, you're going to try to get that heat to escape. You have to try to control this heat. The body's heating up. You have to try to slow that process, cool that body. Place wet cloths, ice all over the body. Soak the person's clothing with cold water. This is a critical emergency. You have to get that body temperature down. They are cooking. Okay, so this is an emergency. Get that cold water on them. Get that ice on them. Have a person stay with them. Understand that if they are unconscious, you don't want to put them in a situation where they could choke or drown or anything like that. So you do want to exercise caution on how you're handling them. But this is an emergency, and you want to treat it like that. So also serious, but the next level below heat stroke is heat exhaustion. Okay, some of the symptoms for heat exhaustion: headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, irritability, thirst, heavy sweating. You see on the heavy sweating, the body's cooling mechanism is still working, although it's trying to work overtime because the body's getting hotter and getting hotter. It's still working, still sweating. Okay, so that's a big difference. If the sweating has stopped, you're in that heat stroke prevention mode. Okay, so elevated body temperature and decreased urine output. So, like I said, stay to the end, and we're going to talk about the urine. So, heat exhaustion. If you see those signs, you see that profuse sweating, you see that confusion, that increased irritability, they should go to a clinic, emergency room immediately. They should be evaluated. Call 911. Make sure that someone stays with the person. Person should be removed from the hot area. They should give the person, you want to give the person liquid to drink. Their body is expending huge amounts of liquid. You need to start replacing those liquids. See, with the stroke, you've already gone beyond that as far as giving them the liquids. They may just throw it back up. At this case, you still have there's still the system is still working, so you do want to give them plenty of fluids to drink. Remove unnecessary clothing, remove shoes and socks. Cool the person with cold compresses to the head, the neck, the face. Have the person wash their head, face, neck with cold water. Encourage frequent sips of cool water. If they're unable to drink, get emergency medical help immediately. So this is, again, a very serious situation. It's a step below the heat stroke, but I've seen a lot of people at this level. And the key thing, get them out of the heat, get them into air conditioning, get the cold compresses on. You want to help the body. The body system is failing. It hasn't failed yet. It is failing in its inability to control the body temperature. You want to help that process out. Get the fluids back in the body. Get that person out of the heat and start to cool that body down. All right, heat cramps are muscle pains caused by physical labor in a hot work environment. They're caused by the loss of salts and fluids during the sweating process. You're sweating so much that you're losing those fluids, you're losing the salts, and then your muscles start to cramp up. So what you want to do for that is replace those fluids, have a snack, have some carbs, get some electrolyte replacement fluids, Gatorade, sports drinks. Have some of that about every 15 to 20 minutes to replenish what you've lost. Avoid salt tablets. The electrolyte drinks are far better for a person. If a person has heart problems, if they've got a low sodium diet, or if the cramps do not subside within an hour, you want to get medical help. Otherwise, you should be able to self-treat this. And like I said, get the person out of the heat, get those fluids. So get the fluid replacement going, get the electrolyte replacement going, and those cramps should subside. The fourth one is a heat rash. So I've got a picture here of a couple different cases of heat rash. It's the most common problem in the work environments. It's caused by sweating. Looks like red clusters of pimples or small blisters. Usually appears in the neck, upper chest, the groin, under the breasts, and in elbow creases. So if a person shows signs of possible heat rash, best treatment is to provide a cooler, less humid work environment. The rash area should be kept dry. Powder may be applied to increase comfort. Ointments and creams should not be used. Anything that makes the skin warm or moist will make the rash worse. So dryness and coolness is what you're looking for. All right, so we have covered the four main areas of heat stress illnesses. We've covered the symptoms. We've covered how to treat those cases. I want to talk a little bit about prevention, because prevention, as they say, is what? Yes, you're right, the best medicine. So let's talk about some prevention. Some of the things that we should do to help prevent is, first of all, make sure that you and your friends and family are educated. That's why we're making this video. Send this video out. Have people watch it. We're trying to keep it somewhat short so it's an easy view. But educate friends and families on the hazards leading to heat illness and ways to prevent them. Train people, educate people on how to recognize the symptoms in themselves, in others. Remember, intervention is one of the key ways to prevent the heat illness, because the mind may not acknowledge, may not be able to function properly. A person often does not recognize in themselves the signs. Somebody else may have to say, you know what, you want to take a break. It's not a tough person thing, just go take a break. Get some fluids. So if you got someone new to the area, visiting family person, visiting friends, they're new, you want to take some time to get them acclimated. Gradually increase their exposure, allow more frequent breaks during the first week. Make sure people have plenty of cool water. If you're working outside, have some water, cool water with you, pretty close to where you're working. If the water is far away from where you're working, the average person is less likely to go drink the water, because most people are doing the task and they want to finish the task. So put coolers out, put water sources out near where you're working. You're working out on the farm, your homestead. Get some coolers out there, and that way it's more convenient. You're more likely to stop and take a drink break. Okay, you do want to remind people to drink water frequently. Remind each other, especially your children. If your kids are outside, you may have to schedule the breaks for them. They're going to be out there. They're going to get busy. Kids so often don't want to break away from what they're doing. So if it were me, my kids were young, but we certainly, we had kids in high humidity environments. We also had them in high temperatures. If we're from Louisiana to the high deserts of California. So I've dealt with this with the kids, that sometimes you just put it on a timer. Your phone buzzes, it's 15 minutes. All right, come on, time for a break. And you know what? They're going to go, oh, come on, Mom, come on, Dad. Yeah, they're going to do that. That's kids. But you know what? As adults, we need to look out for them. So I encourage you, make it part of how you function outside. Just get in that habit of, hey, every 15, every 20 minutes, we're going to drink some fluid. Okay. So just tell them is not enough. We need to monitor. We need to make sure that it's happening. How much? About 1 cup every 15 to 20 minutes. So we're not guzzling the water. We're just have a slow, steady intake. Okay. So how do you know if you're drinking enough water? This is the key I want to share with you. So if you're drinking enough water, you should be urinating somewhat regular. So when you urinate, take a look at the color. I've got this chart here. So the darker the urine, the less water in your system. You want to keep your urine as clear as possible. So look at this chart. I'm going to leave a web address in the description so you can print one of these charts for yourself. But use this chart. Look at the urine. Have the kids look at the urine. I'll tell you what, at so many facilities, I've had them post these charts right over the urinals. Very, very helpful. It is a great indicator if you've got enough water in your body. If the pee is dark, you need to increase your intake. Whatever you're doing is not sufficient. So it's a great prevention tool. So urine monitoring is helpful. Eating regular meals and snacks. They do provide salt and electrolytes, and that will replace what we lose through sweating. So most of the time, straight water is enough if you're eating properly. You may want to occasionally mix in an electrolyte drink. I've heard 1 to 2 and 1 to 3 ratio. I'm not sure, but you don't want to drink straight electrolyte drinks. Mix it up, and eating regular will help you. Use a buddy system. In the high heat, you should not be working out in an area alone. If something happens, there'll be no one to help you. If you start showing signs and you don't recognize your own signs, there'll be no one else to step in and recognize those signs for you. So schedule your work so that you work in pairs, you work in teams. You may want to reduce the physical demands of the jobs. One of the things that has worked with me and with the people I've worked with is scheduling those type of jobs that are high in physical activity, scheduling for the earlier or later parts of the day, particularly earlier parts of the day that are cooler. In fact, I've had work crews change their whole work schedule so that they start work a couple hours early and the bulk of the work is done before the sun comes up. Very, very helpful. During the high heat of the middle of the day, if you can avoid it, you don't want to be outside. If you have to be outside, you want to be doing the less strenuous work. So see if you can readjust your work so that your heavier work activities are done when it's cooler. And schedule frequent rest breaks. I had mentioned scheduling them for the kids, but put yourself on a regimen. Set your timer on your iPhone or your Android, and every 15-20 minutes, take a short break. I know what people say, oh, I'll never get anything done. Oh, you never get anything done if you pass out. So the idea is to be able to keep going without heat stress. So schedule those breaks, even if it's a short break, to sit in the shade and drink a little bit of water. Very important. And the final thing that I've got is keep an eye on the weather. Look several days in advance. It may be better to delay an activity from today to tomorrow because the weather might be cooler. Maybe there's more clouds tomorrow. So take a look at the weather, monitor that. If you see a big heat wave coming, change your plans so that you can avoid that type of risk. Like I said, especially with kids, especially with people in those higher risk factors that we'd mentioned at the beginning. All right, so I hope you got a lot of information on this video. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share this. We want to make sure that as many people as possible have the understanding and how to protect themselves. We want to make sure that people do not suffer from heat stress illnesses this summer. It's already hot, and it's not even the beginning of summer yet. So please share this. Click the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and leave any comments. And appreciate you watching. Stay safe, stay cool, and stay prepared.